Some minister has joined in. It's 9 o'clock. Welcome to Kiki's Chat Show. We're going to play my song, and then after that, we'll come back. Has it started again? I like this song. So you know everything by heart. You can say everything without looking on a piece of paper, everything that you wrote.
I think so. Not the exact words, but something close. Hello, my people. Good evening, listeners, and hello and welcome to Kiki's Chat Show. Today is Wednesday, the 26th. How do you find the weather? Today's better in London, anyway.
It's nicer in London. You have to speak into your microphone. We're both not doing the right thing. I forgot.
Is it better? Is it fine now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. So, today's topic is unconventional fertility. Mm-hmm. We have infertility, we have all sorts of things that we've talked about, but we're going to find out what the meaning of unconventional is. Now, before I introduce my guest, I need you. Human beings at heart are beings of love and intelligence. Human beings seek to grow, express their creativity, intelligence, basic goodness, and need to be validated. Now, one of the things that we do when we couple, when we get together with other people, when we think we're in love, when we think life is good, is to replicate ourselves. And in the replication is when we have children. So that is almost always a result of initial love through connection, creating our own children, our own family. Yes. Now, from that, we're going to talk about fertility, the unconventional side of fertility. My guest today is a blogger on fertility with, she's an Afropolitan feminist, and she has a lot of experience that she wants to share with anyone out there who's on the same journey as her. Now, for you to know what this unconventional situation we're going to discuss, you have to watch the show. You have to listen to the show.
Yeah.
Welcome, Noni.
Thank you, Candy. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a great pleasure. There are a lot of people who have gone through what you're going to describe. And my first question, before we even start this chat, is why did you call it unconventional?
I think, for me, the word infertility carries with it so many connotations and long-held beliefs about the woman being barren that I didn't want to. I struggled with the idea of being deemed infertile, because I knew that if I said that to somebody, they'll think that I can never have kids, or I'm not woman enough, or I'm not enough as an African. Because I think for a lot of black women especially, motherhood is a big part of our identity as women, and so the idea of being infertile, I struggled with that word so much that I thought, well, what I'm experiencing is infertility, yes, but I would like to describe it as unconventional, because one day I will be pregnant. It might not be naturally, it might be by facilitated means, and that's where the unconventional comes from it. So it's not your linear, get married, have kids naturally, and have a baby. My story hasn't been that straightforward. It's been unconventional, and that's where that comes from.
Okay, so people, first of all, it is not infertility because of all the reasons that she's given. It's like, when you're infertile, it's like, that's it, full stop. It's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
But it's unconventional because you didn't, there's something going on before the actual fertility will begin. That's the short version.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Okay, now, one of the other issues that I want to ask you before we start talking properly is, this is an Afropolitan radio station. This radio station, everybody listens to it. It's listened all over the world, actually, but it's mainly pertaining to black people. And black people don't talk fertility.
They don't at all. They don't. This is probably the first conversation I'm having.
That is out there.
Out there, yeah. With another black woman about infertility. This is the first time. And I think for me that's another reason why I wanted to do this, because I need to be able to come and speak to you about this openly without feeling ashamed.
Yeah.
Without feeling like I'm not woman enough.
No.
Without feeling like, oh, my husband loves me less, because, there's so many, I think there's a lot of consequences that we've kind of created amongst the black community for women, more so than the men, for being infertile. And to be able to have that conversation can take away that stress for a woman, can take away the loneliness. I've had private conversations with people who are dealing with the same situation, but they would never think to speak about it openly. They're afraid of what that means, or how people will look at them and say, you're not a woman, or you failed, essentially. So there's a lot of feelings of inadequacy, I think, that can come with not being able to speak about it.
Yeah. Well, ladies, if there are any ladies out there who kind of are going through this situation It's never too late. And I actually met somebody who had a baby when she was 51.
Wow.
And it was actually twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it happens a lot.
Yeah.
Because after all the stress and after all the IVFs and things don't work, and then, in fact, she even got divorced. Her husband left her and went and had children with other people. And then she was in a stable relationship. She'd taken her mind off the fact that she was going to have any babies. And then one day she wasn't feeling very well. She goes to the doctor.
Yeah.
They do several tests. And at the end of it, someone said, why don't we have a pregnancy test? She thought, well, you can, but I don't think that's what it is.
Yeah.
They had one, and she was pregnant.
Wow, that's amazing. And we need to have more stories like that out there as well.
Oh, no, there are lots. My friend, one of my best friends in the world, from my childhood, actually was on radio in America talking about this because she went through something similar.
Yeah.
And it was only yesterday.
Wow.
And I knew she'd had a baby and everything, but I did not know that she went through all of this.
Right, yeah.
And so she had a lot of problems, and she couldn't even have the baby naturally. She had to have a cesarean because the fibroids had covered, So there are several reasons for people not... being able to have, but we're not sure, we don't know, and those are other issues, really.
Yeah, and I think that's it for me, for Black African women in particular, is talking about the reasons, or like the reasons that can cause infertility. So things like fibroids, that's quite common amongst Black women, but we don't discuss it. So a person can get to the childbearing age, decide they want to have a child, and realize they've got fibroids. They might have had them for quite a while, but because we're not talking about this, and one of my friends, she actually had a fibroids removed. She's much younger than me, but she had a fibroids removed, and I was saying to her, that's great, because you could have gotten to, I don't know, when you decide you want to have kids, and then maybe find that that's an issue for you. So there's different causes to infertility. So you have fibroids, you have PCOS, which a lot of people have. That's polycystic ovarian syndrome. I don't know a lot about it, but there's a lot of people with it as well in the Black community.
Okay.
You have irregular cycles, which is what I have. So you can never really pinpoint your ovulation.
Yeah.
You can have unexplained infertility, which is quite big as well. So they can do all the tests, check everything, but there's nothing showing as being wrong.
Yeah.
And it's unexplained, which I think that's a lot harder than knowing what you've got, and then you deal with it, sort of thing. You can have tubes that need to be surgically opened up, from the ovaries. And so there's so many different reasons. Yeah. And this is another thing about infertility. So infertility itself is not being able to conceive within a year, right? So that's what actually infertility is, the definition.
Within a year?
Yeah, that is the definition of infertility. But we've decided...
Within a year of what?
Of trying to have sex.
Okay.
Yeah, so being sexually active, non-contracepting for a year.
Yeah.
When you're over a year of doing that, that's when you're called infertile. So,
okay.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that. They think that, infertile means you can't have kids, you'll never have kids, that's it. It's a word to describe, I suppose, the difficulty that you're having in having a child. You might go on to have the child in the second year, or the third year, or the sixth year. Yeah. It doesn't mean you can't, but it's that language that or rather the definition that we've kind of attached to it, that's actually inaccurate, to be honest. Yeah. It's not correct. And then from fertility, there are different reasons why you might be infertile, and they can come from both the man or the woman. So another reason could be low sperm count, or low, the quality of the sperm isn't that great. So it's not just the woman, which is another thing. It can be from the man as well, and it can be genetic.
Yeah, the thing about infertility, or as you are terming it, unconventional fertility, is that in the African setting, which most of us, have African backgrounds, people, there are all sorts of reasons. People label you with all sorts of things, and one of the worst things is to be called a witch, or or you're evil, or you've done something bad.
Yeah, you're cursed.
You're cursed, or in fact you were naughty in your youth, and therefore that's why you're not getting pregnant, etc., etc. And sometimes it's none of those things. It's just you know, situations. It could be fibroids, as you said. It could be PCOS.
Yeah.
It could be all sorts of
and I
reasons.
think our lifestyle as well, you know, in comparison to maybe, I don't know, 60 years ago for women, our lifestyle.
60.
Let's compare 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Women have different lives now.
Yeah.
We're busy, we're working, we're
Yeah.
doing this and that. We're not homemakers in the way that we used to be years ago. So
Yeah.
I think even our lifestyles have something to do with it. So some women are in very stressful jobs now, and stress can be a cause of
A factor.
Yeah, it can be a factor. So there's so many different reasons why you could be, and it doesn't have anything to do with you being a witch.
It's terrible. I mean, people, one of the other things which kind of, it always bothers me is people say, when you know, you've had children, it's like, oh, you're blessed. So the people who don't have children are not blessed.
Not blessed.
And it's very painful and hurtful when people say things like that.
Yeah.
This is my view on that. And I wonder how we're going to change the mindset. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
However, before we go into that, do you have a story? Do you want to tell us your story?
Okay, sure.
Okay, good.
So I'm 29. I think it's also important to put age out there because fertility decreases with age.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 29. I'm turning 30 next month. So.
Oh, we've got a caller. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
We haven't even started the chat yet. Which one is the phone? Hello, caller. Hello.
Oh.
Caller just went. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, so 2.5 years ago, January 2017, my husband and I decided we wanted to start a family.
Okay.
I was on the coil then, so I got it removed. So the coil is a contraceptive.
Okay.
I'd had that for a few years, so I got that removed. And then they said to me, you know, it can take up to 6 months for you to kind of get back to normal. But my periods were regular anyway. Well, regular for my cycle.
Yeah.
So we carried on. So 2017 January came and went. So I was charting my fertile window using my periods. So I'd say if I started my period on Saturday 2 weeks before that is when you usually ovulate. So that's how I was in my first year of trying. That's how I was doing it. So during my fertile window, we were having regular sex anyway because if you're trying, you've got to have regular sex.
The trying is good.
Yeah, and the sex is good when you have a partner.
Yes, when you have a partner, of course.
Yes.
You have to do it with somebody.
So we did that for a year, and I was also planning my wedding in that time. So in my mind, I was kind of using that as an excuse, like, oh, but you know, we're planning wedding. I'm not really thinking about it, so I'm not really focused on it. That's why it hasn't happened. My wedding came. This was September, and I thought, well, it's been about 9 months and nothing has happened. And I knew, I thought to myself, I have to do something else. So I started using a different tool, which is the basal body temperature tool. So you basically take your temperature every morning, and before you ovulate, it goes up, it shoots up. So when your temperature goes up that morning, you kind of know you're about to ovulate. So you can pinpoint where you're ovulating. So I used that for a few months. Again, nothing happened.
But was your temperature showing when you were ovulating?
I wasn't able to confirm ovulation with the app for maybe 2 months or so. Maybe once I did, but so I thought maybe I'm not using it properly. Again, so I made excuses. I'm not using it properly.
Okay.
You know, maybe that's why.
Okay.
2019 came the beginning of this year, and I thought I have to do something else. Obviously, it's not working. I bought a book. It's like this thick. Started reading hard science about fertility, reproduction, my womb, my uterus, everything. I wanted to know because I thought I'm missing something here.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know something. I watched YouTube videos. I made my husband actually watch this video of conception, what happens with conception. So like an animated video.
Yeah.
And even he was shocked. He was like, a lot of people don't know that first of all there's a fertile window. That's the only time you can get pregnant, and your sperm has to travel all the way. So we did a lot of research, and then I bought another thing called OvuSense. This is another trying to conceive tool called OvuSense, and you basically put this little thing that looks like a tampon inside your vagina, and that reads your temperature. Okay. So this is me going to like all ends to obviously try and fall pregnant. And then I got a bit discouraged at some point because nothing was happening. This was about March, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stopped using everything. I just said, I'm tired. I was discouraged, and I stopped using everything. And then I ended up in hospital with pelvic pain. Just from, like, no, it never happened to me before. 7 days before that, I'd been bleeding, like, slightly, but it wasn't my period. And then I had this pain, so I was admitted into hospital.
Oh, no.
And then the doctors were asking me, obviously, so you're trying to... I told them I was trying to have a baby and all this. And they asked me, how long have you been trying, or when did you come off contraception? And I said, in January 2017. And their faces, they didn't really say, oh, but their faces were very like, oh, right, okay, that's a long time. We need to look into that. And it was only then that I kind of thought, oh, gosh, I've been waiting for 2 years to see... So I'd never seen my GP. I'd not seen anyone. I'd not even spoken to anyone about it, except my mum, who kept saying, this is taking a long time. So fast forward, I came out of hospital, and then I had to be referred to a gynecologist anyway for this pain. So I had to see my GP, and then my GP did an exam on me, and she was like, and I asked, and I said, I've been trying for 2 years, do you think I should be seeing someone? She was like, definitely, I'll refer you to a fertility clinic. So this was earlier on this year, and that's where we are now in our infertility stage.
Mm-hmm.
Getting all the investigations done on both of us, because it's not just, on the woman, like I said.
So he had a test. He's having tests as well.
Yeah, he has to have tests as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So far that's my journey.
So is he okay with that? Or does he find it an imposition? Is he managing to? He's happy to go with you. You have your test. He has his test. That sort of thing.
I'm quite lucky because he is, and he's very much a realist. So he's like, well, it hasn't happened for the last 2.5 years. Something's obviously happening. We need to find out. So I'm lucky that he's been very like, yeah, let's do it. Whatever it is, we need to do it. Even if it comes to the point of going privately or whatever, he's on board with all of it. Because
Okay.
we both want it as much as each other. That's
You want to have babies.
Yeah.
You've actually planned how many you want to have and
Yeah,
all of that.
yeah.
Okay. The world is a funny place because there are people who do not actually want kids.
Yeah.
They're just doing what they're doing. Boom, boom. Then the baby pops out.
Yeah.
And then there are those who want to have kids and they plan it and meticulously and they do all the things and still.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting you say that because my husband, he's even done like a baby budget. He's got that. So what you're saying is right. There's people that don't want any children, and it happens. And I've always, since I was 14, I wasn't trying to have kids at 14, but I've always had this thing that because I really wanted to be a mother one day, I always worried that I wouldn't be able to.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm in this situation. I'm like, did I speak that into my life, or how?
Yes, but even if you spoke it into your life,
Yeah.
you can take it out.
Of
You
course.
can speak it out of your life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay. So, how do you feel? I mean, there are many questions. People ask, because I advertise,
Yeah.
people have sent questions and all of that. So, one of the questions is, how does it feel when you look around and your friends and others have just married and are immediately getting pregnant and all of that? How do you feel about that?
That's a really good question. I think the thing that people need to understand about women who are trying is, as much as I love you as a friend, and I'm so happy for you when you tell me you're pregnant, it's very difficult for us to deal with. And a good example is, the lady at work. She started kind of trying after me, probably a year or two after me.
After you?
Yeah. And then she told me she was pregnant, and I kind of went into shock. I was happy for her, but at the same time, I kind of went into shock that how did this happen for her and it's not happening for me? And I started crying in front of her. I couldn't help it, and I started crying. So I think the one thing that I would definitely explain to people, my friends included, so many of my friends have gotten pregnant in the last 6 months, is that initially it is painful, it is a shock, and you kind of I have to sit with myself and be like, separate your emotions for something good that's happening for somebody else, and I literally have to have that kind of moment of reckoning, like just stop for a second, separate yourself. And sometimes I don't even say congratulations straight away, only because I need to deal with my funk first before I speak to someone. But then I also started turning it around. So when someone says to me, "Oh, Noni, I'm pregnant," and I'm like, "This is great. This is wonderful." I ask them about their story, so I turn it into a positive. Sometimes, most of the times actually, in the last few months, when I've asked women, they've told me that either they've had miscarriages or they've been trying for a certain amount of time, and we just exchange ideas and stories. So now, instead of me looking at women and thinking,
Keep
close
to the mic.
instead of me looking at women and being like a bit maybe upset that they've fallen pregnant and I haven't, I kind of latch onto them and I ask them questions about it. I say, "Look, how long were you trying? What did you do? What did you use? You know, tips basically. Share what you did with me." And a lot of women have done that with me. So as much as it's difficult to see other people having babies, I always try and take away what I can from it, or learn what I can from it. Everyone's different though, but you can kind of, they might tell you something you don't know. Because we don't talk about it, there might be things that I don't know about it.
So, were you already a blogger, or did the situation make you blog to share with others what you're going through?
The situation definitely made me blog about this. I used to write. I've always loved writing. I've always liked sharing with women, creating a bit of a sisterhood. That I'm really, really passionate about all that. But with this, I started it because of this. Initially, I said to myself, I'll do it when I have a baby. Then there's no shame. You know, I was trying to hide from what was actually happening. Like, then I'll be like, "Oh, I used to be infertile, but then I had a baby." But then I said to myself, this is your situation right now. What if it happens for the next 7 years? You know, and
You're going to keep hiding it until waiting for the 7 years.
That's it. So you have to have an acceptance of it. And this was my way of accepting it, kind of putting it out there and saying, this is my story. And not everybody's story is as linear and as, you know, as perfect almost as we see. And we need to talk about these different stories.
Okay. People think that your voice is very low and it keeps going
Oh,
lower.
I'm sorry.
Also, you have your voice is very low. And so, you know, you have to kind of boom, boom, boom,
Shout.
like that, yeah. Okay. Somebody suggested on my WhatsApp page right now that there is a doctor you need to meet.
Okay.
And so I'll give you the details later.
That's great.
Yeah, so
That's really
here we are. It's good you came on because somebody suggested, but there are lots of things. I had a baby, which was fine and totally unplanned, and got. And then after I sat down, planned it all and everything, it took me ages before the next baby came.
Right. Yeah.
Now, all sorts of things happened, and I'll tell you, I was on the verge of having an IVF. It was bizarre.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yes, I was on the verge.
Wow.
So, this is my story. The difference between my story and yours is that it I'd had one. So I was going to have another one. Yeah. I did not have fibroids. I did not, things had happened though. And I'd had a few miscarriages and everything. But I was getting pregnant. Yeah. I was just having miscarriages. So it was becoming bizarre because what is happening? Why, am I eating? Somebody said to me, you're eating your children alive. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
People can be really horrible, And then boom, I had my son, and I thought, that's it, I'm not having any more. So, I can't go through, what I'd been through. It was just too much.
Oh, wow.
But I understand your point, and I see, I can see where you're coming from, and all of that, Yep.
They call that secondary infertility.
Oh, yes. Mine was secondary because I would have a miscarriage, and then I'll try, I'd have again, and then I'd have another miscarriage, and then I had a test, and they checked to see what was going on there. Nothing. And then, so I thought, look, I mean, this is just getting crazy. My surgeon was actually a really kind man, and he was really kind. It was one of those people who said, we have to do something about it. and said, well, look, there's another route we could do IVF, and I'll keep an eye on you.
Yeah.
But strangely enough, I did not have the IVF.
That's fantastic.
I had a normal. And the other thing about it was everybody was determined to make sure this baby was born.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
it was like the whole God had put his hand
Yeah.
on it, and
Yeah.
everything was going to be determined and great,
Yeah.
etc., etc. So
That's great.
I kind of think that you should not lose hope.
Yeah.
And I also believe that, I mean, we should be saying this at the end, but I'm saying it now. That, you know, I mean, sometimes there are preparations and things happen for you to be able to, you know,
Yeah.
get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that.
You do?
I also want to add at this point anyway.
Yeah.
That, and this is not necessarily in reply to you, but by accepting my infertility.
Mm-hmm. You're not infertile though, but accepting your unconventional fertility.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of medically, I'm infertile, but in accepting it.
Yeah.
It does not mean that I think I'm not going to have kids. That's another thing that I want to put out there, because I think when you tell someone, they think, oh, that means you've given up. And I haven't. I really haven't. But I really just, the idea that the black woman is hyper fertile is not true for everyone. And I want people to just see that, to understand that.
That black people are not hyper fertile.
Not everyone is. You know, there's this long-held belief that when you see a black woman, there's just this whole emblem of motherhood, and you know. But the story is not like that for everyone, and our stories, my story, is equally valid. And I think that's the point with this. It's not so much that I think, oh, I've given up, I'm never gonna have kids, I'm upset, I'm this, and I'm not upset necessarily, not all the time. I'm actually quite happy most of the time, but I do want to feel that I can speak about it without people having misconceptions about me.
Also, you don't want people to feel like, oh, poor baby.
Yeah, I don't want the pity either. No, definitely not. No.
Okay, I need to play a song, and after that an advert, and then, so I'm going to play this song. It's called God is Engineering Things.
So perfect.
It is, isn't it? I have an advert, and then I shall tell you guys something. Where's my advert? Okay, cool. Now, did you know that it's time for a pay rise? The government's national living wage and national minimum wage are both increasing on April 1st, which has passed. However, there are still a lot of people who have not gone forward. So the bylaw is you must be paid one of these by your employer. What you receive depends on how old you are. For those aged 25 or over, the national living wage is rising to £8.21 per hour. If you're aged between 16 and 24, the national minimum wage rates are going too. Check what you're entitled to by visiting gov.uk/checkyourpay. There you can find more details and a calculator so you can check what you receive. Another thing is, PPI complaints deadline does it end in June? From June to August 2019. Details for live read. The PPI complaints deadline is 29th August 2019. If you haven't complained to your provider before this date, you won't be able to claim your money back. Payment protection insurance was sold alongside credit products like loans, mortgages, and credit cards. It was often missold. More than $33 billion has already been paid back to people who have complained. Checking if you had PPI is simple and free. You don't need any paperwork, just your date of birth and previous addresses. Many providers have online tools and will help you through the process. You can search for your provider's contact details on the Financial Conduct Authority's website. Search FCA PPI or call 0800 101 8800. But remember, you need to act before the 29th of August 2019. So if you want your PPI or you want to check for PPI, or if you have been missold something like a mortgage or credit cards or loans, this is the time you do it. Okay? Now we're talking about unconventional fertility. And I have here Noni Martins, who is a blogger, an Afropolitan feminist. She is talking about her experience, her story, and she wants to share with people who are going through the same thing. And she wants people to know that you should not give up, because she hasn't given up. And infertility is not the actual word, because whatever they tell you, there are other options and ways to have a baby that you've so much desired. So it can't be infertility. It should be unconventional fertility. Something is in the way of your fertility, and it can be dealt with or sorted out.
Yes.
Okay. So where were we?
Oh, yeah, where were we? What are we talking about?
I asked about whether you're a blogger or not, and whether you are able to speak freely to black women. We talked about that as well. Yeah, about fertility. Are you able to speak to all black women now because you're a blogger, or some talk and some still don't?
I think I'm able to speak to my friends.
Okay.
A lot of women who actually are going through the same things, but I didn't know because they never shared it with me. I'd never shared it with them. Did come to me and spoke about their story, but they said they would never be able to speak about it to anyone else. Even on radio, or they would outside of that conversation, they just wouldn't feel comfortable to do that.
So, will they be comfortable if after they've had a baby?
Probably, yeah.
Oh.
I think it's that thing that, if I've had the child, then that doesn't mean I'm inadequate or I'm not enough, or, I just kind of force people really to talk about it. I think a few of my friends have had enough of me because I'm always asking them questions, and I'm always like, let's talk about it. Let's at least be there for each other. I can understand people who don't want to speak about it openly. I understand that because I was there before.
Okay.
But as sisters, we can talk about it, and we can be there for each other in that way. Because my husband can be everything to me, because some days are worse than others, and sometimes you just need a sister's call or a pep talk, or and I think that's important personally for me. I'm that kind of person that needs that, and I just want to foster the same kind of thing for other women.
Okay. So have you actually considered IVF in all of this, or you think it is not the right time yet for it?
I think I don't feel that it's not that I don't think it's the right time. I think we need to know if there are any contributing factors first, and if there's anything that we can do. So when we have our results, because we haven't had any results yet, if it's an issue with me or with him, let's look at the options based on that. Because that's the other thing. Not everything is like a universal. You can have IVF or whatever. So it depends what the issue is and what the options are. I'd like to look at that first. But I'm one of those people now, especially having shared my story and feeling less shame about it. I'll be open to any other way of having a baby if I couldn't have one the way I want to or naturally or whatever. I'm open to medical intervention, definitely. Okay. But we're not at that stage yet.
Okay, you're not. You're quite young, and you haven't reached anywhere yet. I know that when people are 30, 31, they say that they have a label for women who haven't had a child and blah, 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 blah. But I also think that is also old-fashioned now, and they should stop that because, with work, education, the whole lot of it, people need to get their act together before they start, and people have their babies at 40.
Yeah, and I think some of the guidelines for having IVF have kind of shifted. So whereas before I think it was up to 34, now I think it's up to 39. So the NHS, that's what I can speak about, is changing in that respect because women are having children later or planning to have children later. So in some areas you can have IVF if you're under 30, if you're under 40.
Okay.
Whereas it used to be much lower than that. So it is changing in the right direction.
Also, another question is, what are your views on in-law pressure? Because you see, in Africa, I don't know about where you come from in Africa, but where I come from in Africa, the west part, the mother-in-law, yay! The minute you're married, especially after a white wedding, now, sister,
how far?
Hey, and now they are asking, this girl is dressing up, and is she not going to have this baby? How are you dealing with that?
Do you know what? Once again, I'm really lucky, honestly. My in-laws, the Nigerian family that I married into, I'm Zimbabwean. I married into a Nigerian family, and they're very liberal, and they're hopeful for us without being imposing. But I've been thinking about this quite a lot because when I put my article out, obviously I spoke to my husband that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to start a project for women, and obviously he was okay with it because it affects both of us. So I couldn't have done it without, So he was okay with it. But when I put the article out, the next set of people that I was worried about
were your in-laws.
I thought, what would they think? And they haven't given me any reason to worry. That's not the point. But I actually thought about how, particularly for Southern African girls, and maybe let me just say Zimbabwean girls, so when we get married, the man has to pay a bride price. And I think subconsciously, the way we were raised is that you're meant to basically, how can I explain this properly? You're meant to do everything right by your in-laws. So whatever they expect of you, whatever they desire of you.
Because they paid your bride price.
Kind of. Because you hear about stories where women have been able to have kids, and the husband will now say, "I'll take you back to your family and get my money back," and things. So I think subconsciously, not that my in-laws have made me feel like that, but I can understand someone who's going through that and feeling like they couldn't prove their worth for that bride price because they can't have children. And that's a subconscious thing, that you have to check within yourself, because it's not so much that, like in my situation, I'm not being made to feel like that. But it's there because we were raised that way. It's like the doctrine is there, So I don't have that pressure from my in-laws, but I definitely sympathize with women who do, because it just further adds to the feeling of you're not enough, you're not inadequate, the shame, the guilt. And sometimes it might even be your husband that's the issue, not you. But they would never look at it that way.
It's never been looked like that in Africa.
No.
And sometimes the woman will leave if she's tough and her family is tough. Because you always need your family backing to do things.
Yes.
So if the family is tough
Yeah.
and the woman is tough and she moves out and she marries somebody else and have a baby,
Yeah.
that's the only time that they think,
maybe it's true.
it's the man.
Yes.
And then he gets the abuse.
Yes. Yes.
But whilst it's not the man,
Mm.
because, you know, nobody tests the man.
Exactly. And they should.
Yeah, they should.
They should.
They should test
That's
the
another
man.
thing that I kind of try and push a lot, is every time I'm used to saying black women infertility, but actually, you know, it's both. It can be from the man, so we need to be pushing that agenda as well. They need to get checked as well. It's not just the woman.
So, so you still haven't ascertained what your specific fertility issue is, because
No.
you still haven't had the test.
Yeah, we're waiting for the results. Yeah.
So, how has your challenges shaped the way that you interact with other women who do have children? You know, like we talked about your friends and all of that. What if your friend, you know, because I'll tell you a very terrible story so that you can use that to answer this question. A group of friends, all 4 of them, and they all got, well, 2 got married and 2 didn't.
Right.
Now, of the 2 that didn't get married, they had babies. They were not married, but they were in relationships, and they immediately had babies. One was a big thing, and, you know, the man didn't want it and left her and all of that.
Right.
The other one, you know, they just muddled on.
Yeah.
And then of the other 2, one did get married. She also had a baby. And the other one who got married, the 4th girl, who then got married, she didn't. And, you know, so as these ones kept having, because it was like 2 kids, still she hasn't had hers, they wouldn't let her carry their children. They wouldn't let her touch them.
Really?
Yes. Yes. It happens.
Wow.
It happens to people. Has it happened to you?
I can't even make sense of that. Wow.
Because she's bad luck. She's not having children. So they wouldn't let her pick up her friends. These were 4 friends who started out.
Yeah.
But because she wasn't having any, they wouldn't let her touch their babies.
I will say, amongst my close friends, I don't think I've actually spoken to my closest friends about my issues. The first time they probably heard of it was when I wrote about it. But I don't think I've experienced that. Also, I live a very private life, so I don't actually see my friends a lot in that way. So I don't feel that way though. I don't think they treat me like that. And
is this an eye opener for you though?
Yeah, I'm really shocked that this can happen.
It does happen. It does happen. I'm not saying it will ever happen to you.
Yeah.
But they had this, you know, and it was something that she spoke about after she'd had her baby. Because it broke the friendship, you see. And again, this is a situation where she's going through this. She didn't actually discuss it with anyone, what her issues were.
Yeah.
She then had to go to... She went to, back to Africa.
Yeah.
She was given herbs and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And people have all sorts. They have enemas and also. She then eventually had a baby. When she came back, and it broke the friendship because she said this is how her friends, her closest friends, treated her. They would not let her touch their babies because she was bad luck.
I wonder if it would have been different anyway if she spoke about it with them. It might not have been any different in her case.
Are you sure?
I don't know. But it's so difficult. It's because there's a lot of cultural stuff that we have to unlearn when it comes to infertility for black women, that you're contending with years history of just long-held beliefs about this. So it's difficult, but I just think, in my case, I'm just thinking one story at a time. If we can break that stigma, break the silence, break the shame.
You've broken the shame. You're on radio.
You're
doing. Another thing is, how do you go through? You said you had some difficult times, good times, bad times. How do you deal with times when you feel bad, or you've come from the hospital clinic, the doctor says, I don't know, and all of that. What do you feel?
For me, it happens every time my period comes. That's the truth. So that's every month. And because I think throughout the month, you're kind of trying, you're hoping, so you're kind of waiting and you're checking your temperature. You're doing all, for me anyway, you're doing all these things, you're checking everything. And then when my period comes, it's like, I have to do this all over again.
Yeah.
So on those days, my husband knows, I just stay in bed and I want to eat all the worst food. And when my period comes, because I haven't been drinking, because I'm thinking I'll have maybe a glass of wine, because I'm thinking, you know what, I deserve this. So I kind of do all the things that I stopped doing, and have a cabbage day, just in bed, watch telly, binge, and I kind of avoid everyone on that day. But that's how I deal with it. And then after that, I bounce back, and we're back to
back to going back on the temperature taking
everything.
And all of that. Yeah.
But I give myself that time to deal, which I think in the beginning I wasn't doing that. So it'd catch me off guard. I'll be out with friends. Next thing, maybe something, I'll either drink too much, or, it would catch me off guard in different ways. So I said to myself, when you're feeling like that, deal with it. Sit with it. Deal with it. Say goodbye to it. That's how I deal with it.
Okay. So we've got 7 minutes to go, but we can still talk some more. We've dealt with the in-law pressure. I like to hone in on that, because however much switched on your partner, your husband, is, and all of that, people still, even if your mother-in-law is not saying anything, that thing of, so when,
Yeah. I think my mom is like that.
Your mom is the when?
She's dying to be a grandma. She really is. I think you have to stop thinking about other people. I don't think I would cope I wouldn't have done this if I was thinking about other people. You have to think about, for me also, the thing that gives me a bit of comfort is I'm doing everything I physically can to try and have a baby. That's all I can do, right? So if someone comes at me sideways with comments or this and that, that's fine. I might get annoyed, I might get, pissed off or whatever, but in terms of me and my husband, we're doing what we need to do to try and make this happen. That's the only thing that matters.
So has anyone ever said to you, just be yourself, be normal, don't dwell on it, and maybe it will happen?
But I did that in my first year, 4 year and a bit.
And it didn't happen?
It didn't happen.
So you are not taking that, lying down anymore. You're not kind of like, I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to take my temperature. I'm just going to live for 2 more years with no stress or thinking about baby.
I don't think I can do that now. I don't think so. For me, it kind of feels, for me personally, it feels a bit, maybe because I've read too much now about it, it feels a bit ignorant. Like I'm not listening, because I don't know how to just listen to my body. My cousin said to me, oh, she knows when she's ovulating, she can just tell something's different about her. But I don't know when I'm ovulating. I can't.
So have you not learnt it in this process?
I've tried, I have tried, but it's not the same for me. And because my cycle can vary so much in terms of the number of days, it can be at any point within that. So for me, I definitely think I rely more on scientific intervention.
Okay,
when it comes to
science.
This. I feel like it gives me a more black and white, you have done this. Whereas if I wasn't doing anything, I feel like I wasn't trying hard enough. Maybe that's not a good thing, but that's where I am.
I think you have to do you in this circumstance, because we're all different and we all look for different things in life.
Yeah. And,
sometimes we have the same goal, but we attack it in different ways. So this is one of the things. I think, have you got anything that you can say as, closing, because we're nearly there, to anyone who is on this same journey as you?
Yeah, I would say that your story is equally valid. I would say don't be discouraged by the single story, the linear story of pregnancy, because yours is different, yours is unconventional. I would say that you matter. I would say that seek medical help. because that's another thing that Black Africans don't do early enough.
You might find out things that might be the key to, you know, opening up that next chapter for you. So I would definitely encourage women to seek help, and your partners. I would say that infertility does not define you. By me speaking out on it and putting it out there and having a big mouth about it, it does not mean that I'm saying it defines us, but I'm saying that we need to come to a realization and acceptance of it so we can help ourselves. That's what I would say.
Acceptance and realization.
Yeah.
And also to learn to listen to your body. People know, though, you know, people know that even if your periods are irregular, I'm not a doctor, but I'm somebody who's gone through all this. One thing that I know, though, is even if it's irregular, I can tell. I can tell when my body is ready, when I'm about to have a period.
I can tell when I'm about to have a period, but I can't tell when I'm ovulating.
Okay.
That's the tricky part. For me, anyway.
Well, you have to learn. You have to learn to start talking to your body. Yeah. You have to learn to see the signals, the signs.
Yeah, that's important.
And this is an advice to everybody. You need to know there's some people whose husbands know their cycles, which fascinate me because that is just, shut up. Let her do her own thing. You've got to learn to know what your body wants to do and how and you see, knowing your body also takes you into a different world. Totally. Now you can cope with it. You know yourself. You see, and it makes things interesting as well, even sex and all of that. Once you know your body.
It's true.
You see what I mean? Yes. So, knowing your body, learning to speak to yourself, learning to tell when the headache is coming, when something is happening, etc.
No, I agree with that. That's a very good point. Learn your body. Learn your body.
Well, we've come to the end of the show. People, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, this is a thing. I've been through it in a different way, but I've still been through it. And a lot of women go through it. Whether they want to talk about it or not is a different thing. But we all go through these stages in our lives. And the need to have a baby is one of the things that after you've married, after you've done all the nice things, this is now. The next stage is baby, and then baby doesn't come. So I'm very happy to see you. I'm very happy that you bravely came on the show to talk about it. You shared your pain with other people. I was very worried that you may cry. You didn't.
I was worried as well.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Candy. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. People, thank you very much. This show I will copy it and put it on YouTube. It's on Facebook. It's all over the place. So it will be repeated a few times as well. So people will watch it. If you missed a point, it's okay. You'll watch it again. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Be well. This is